until she heard it.
A sound.
The faint creak of a door. Her head snapped up, her breath hitching. She turned toward the shadows of the vast chamber, heart pounding. From the darkness, a figure emerged.
Tall.
Broad-shouldered. His presence was suffocating, dangerous, magnetic. His black suit clung to him like it was tailored by the devil himself. His dark hair framed a face too perfect, too deadly, his lips curved in a smirk that made her blood freeze. Her knees buckled. It was him. The air outside the Charles household was unusually still that morning, though inside, tension rippled like an invisible storm. Veronica Charles sat at the edge of her bed, her slender hands trembling against the hem of her silk nightdress. Her ebony skin glistened faintly under the morning sun that poured in through the blinds, highlighting the sheen of her long, braided hair that tumbled down her back. She was only 22, yet she felt the crushing weight of an ancient tradition pressing down on her chest, stealing her breath. Her phone buzzed nonstop with messages. She already knew what they were about. The entire neighborhood, maybe even the entire Korean town where she lived, was laughing at her. Marrying a dead man? Who does that? The whispers had become a wildfire, igniting ridicule in every corner she turned. Her father's voice echoed from downstairs, firm and uncompromising. Veronica, get dressed properly. The Kangs will be here within the hour. Her heart sank deeper. She shot up, storming to her door before swinging it open with force. Appa, she shouted back, forgetting for a moment that she wasn't in her motherland. The word had slipped in after living years in Korea, but her tone was sharp, filled with African fire. I told you I won't do this. I won't marry someone who's already dead. I'm not some toy you can give away because of your business ties. Her father, Mr. Charles, a tall, dignified man with streaks of gray in his hair, emerged from the living room and looked up at her with eyes that had long forgotten what it meant to bend. He wore a black suit, pressed to perfection, his tie neat, his face carved into a mask of authority. You think you have a choice, Veronica? His voice carried the deep, thunderous calm of a man who had lived his entire life commanding respect. The Kong family has asked and we owe them. Do you want to see this family ruined because of your selfishness? I want to live my own life, she cried, her voice cracking. Not be bound to a coffin. Enough! His shout silenced her, and for a moment, her heart beat so loud she thought the walls would collapse with it. The Kong family wasn't ordinary. Even before the scandal, their name carried both reverence and fear in Korea. They were known not only as one of the wealthiest chaebols, but also whispered to be tied to underground dealings. No one ever said it out loud, but everyone knew. Behind their glossy skyscrapers and glittering banquets, blood and power flowed like wine. Their only surviving heir, Kong Lee, had died recently after a sudden, mysterious illness. His family had been devastated, yet their traditions demanded that he not walk into the afterlife unmarried. So they had done the unthinkable, ask for a bride for their dead son. And not just any bride. They had chosen Veronica. The reason? Her father's deep connection with the family's underworld dealings. Mr. Charles once saved Kong Sr.'s life in a dangerous business deal in Africa years ago. Now it was time to return the favor.
The doorbell rang.
Every muscle in Veronica's body went rigid. She heard the shuffle of servants downstairs, the click of heels, and then voices, deep, commanding, and laced with intimidation. She stepped back into her room, pressing her palms against her chest as though to stop her racing heart. They're here, the family of the dead man I'm supposed to marry. Her father called up once again. Veronica, come down at once. You will not embarrass this family. Tears stung her eyes, but she wiped them quickly, anger surging in their place. She grabbed her scarf and draped it around her shoulders, her movement sharp and defiant. If she was going to be paraded like an offering, then she would at least hold her head high. When she descended the stairs, her eyes fell on the Kangs. Kong Sr. sat in the middle of the living room, his posture regal, his eyes cold and heavy with power. Beside him was Madame Kong, a woman of intimidating grace in her late 50s, her lips painted red as blood, her expression unreadable. Two suited men stood behind them, bodyguards, perhaps assassins if one looked long enough into their expressionless faces. Madame Kang's eyes swept over Veronica like a blade. "So this is the girl," she said, her Korean crisp, her tone chilling. Veronica squared her shoulders.
Yes.
"This is the girl who refuses to be married to a ghost." The room froze. Mr. Charles's face drained of color. "Veronica," he hissed through clenched teeth. But Madame Kang only smiled, slowly, dangerously. "A spirited one," she said, leaning back on the leather couch. "Perhaps that is why fate chose her. My son deserves nothing less." What followed was a storm of words, Veronica's refusal clashing against her father's iron will, the Kang's insistence slicing through the air with calm cruelty. At last, Madame Kang delivered the final strike. "You have no choice, girl. This marriage is not for you. It is for my son. For our honor. If you walk away, do you think your friends will save you? Do you think this world will protect you?" Veronica's fists shook, her nails biting into her palms. She looked at her father, but his eyes gave her no refuge. Her voice broke when she whispered, "You're selling me to a grave." And Mr. Charles answered coldly, "I am saving this family." The wedding was announced. Within hours, news spread like wildfire across Seoul and beyond. Social media exploded with hashtags, memes, and cruel jokes. Hashtag Bride of the Dead trended at #1. Korean students she once sat beside in university shared videos of themselves laughing, pretending to faint as if they were marrying ghosts. Her friends, if they could still be called that, sent her messages dripping with mockery. "Congrats, Veronica. I didn't know you were into necrophilia. Are you doing this for money? Or for visa extension?" Laugh out loud. She wanted to vanish, bury herself under the earth, and never come out. Yet the Kang family didn't flinch. They didn't issue statements. They didn't deny or explain. It was as though the ridicule of the world didn't matter to them at all. The day came, shrouded in black. No white gown, no flowers. Only the somber tones of mourning mixed with ceremonial threads. Veronica was forced into a black hanbok, her braids tied neatly beneath a veil. As she stood before the coffin that supposedly held Kang Lee's body, her chest heaved, her mind screaming. The officiator's voice echoed, "Do you, Veronica Charles, take this man, Kang Lee, to be your husband, even in death?" Her lips trembled. Everyone was watching. Cameras. Phones. The world. She closed her eyes. "I do." The words felt like poison on her tongue. The night was cold. Veronica sat in the Kang mansion, in a grand room that felt more like a golden prison. Her mind reeled from the absurdity of the day. She was married to a corpse. She wept silently into her hands. Until she heard it.
A sound.
The faint creak of a door. Her head snapped up, her breath hitching. She turned toward the shadows of the vast chamber, heart pounding. From the darkness, a figure emerged.
Tall.
Broad-shouldered. His presence was suffocating, dangerous, magnetic. His black suit clung to him like it was tailored by the devil himself. His dark hair framed a face too perfect, too deadly, his lips curved in a smirk that made her blood freeze. Her knees buckled. It was him.
Kang Lee. Alive.
He leaned casually against the doorway, his eyes locking onto her trembling form. His voice was smooth, dangerous, like velvet laced with steel. "So, this is my bride. The girl they gave to mourn me." The mansion was cloaked in silence, broken only by the soft hum of the night wind pushing against the high glass windows. Veronica pressed her back against the velvet chair, her eyes wide, her lips parted as she stared at the impossible sight before her. Kang Lee, the man who was supposed to be dead. The coffin, the ceremony, the mournful vows, all of it had been real. And yet here he stood, tall, alive, breathing, radiating an aura that made her whole body shiver. "Well, what is this?" she whispered, her voice trembling as though it might shatter at any second. He smirked, a dangerous curve of lips that carried arrogance and dark amusement. His sharp jawline caught the dim light of the chandelier, and his eyes, piercing, obsidian, unreadable, did not move away from her even for a second. What does it look like, Veronica?
I'm alive.
Her breath caught in her throat. She stumbled back a step, nearly tripping on the long hem of her hanbok. But they said you were sick, dead. He took a step forward, slow and deliberate, like a predator approaching prey. And my family believed it, he replied coolly. That was the point. That was always the plan. Veronica's mind spun. She clutched her scarf to her chest, as though it could shield her from his presence.
Why?
Why would you let them bury you? Let me marry you? Calmly chuckled under his breath, a sound so low and intoxicating it raised goosebumps along her arms. You think I chose this, sweetheart? His voice dropped to a husky whisper.
No.
But sometimes, to protect what's mine, I have to play dead. The Kong name is surrounded by enemies. In the Mafia, if they believe the heir is gone, they stop hunting. They let their guard down. And in the shadows, I rise again. He tilted his head, studying her as though she were a puzzle. And then there's you, the unexpected bride they shoved into my grave. His words cut through her chest like a blade. I didn't agree to this, she snapped, her voice suddenly fierce. I didn't want this marriage. I didn't want you.
He stopped.
For a moment, his expression darkened, his eyes flickering with a dangerous light. Then slowly, a smile curved on his lips. You'll change your mind. She flinched as he came closer, standing only a breath away. His scent, rich, masculine, laced with something dark, wrapped around her, making her pulse race. You think I'll just accept this? Veronica demanded, raising her chin despite the fear that coiled in her belly. You think I'll be your obedient wife? Never. I have my own life. My own dreams. I won't let you. Before she could finish, Kong Li leaned in, his face so close she could see the faint scar near his eyebrow, the sharp perfection of his lips. You already are mine, he whispered. Her body froze, heat rushing to her face. She wanted to push him away, to slap that smug expression off his face. Yet her hands trembled, betraying her. Don't come closer, she stammered, stepping back. He smirked again, amused by her resistance. Fight all you want, Veronica. But in this house, in this life, you belong to me. News broke the next morning like thunder. The Kong heir is alive. Articles spread across the internet, contradicting everything from the previous weeks. Pictures of Kong Li, looking very much alive, circulated with speed. The world was stunned. And then came the next headline. The African bride who married the dead heir, now wife to the living Mafia boss. Veronica's phone exploded again, this time with a different kind of chaos. Wait, so you're actually his wife now? From clown to queen. You're so lucky, Veronica. I take back what I said. Girl, you're living every kdrama fantasy. The same people who mocked her yesterday were now gnashing their teeth in envy. But Veronica felt none of the triumph they assumed she did. She sat on the edge of her enormous bed in the Kong mansion, staring blankly at the chandelier above. Lucky? She didn't feel lucky. She felt trapped. That night, Kong Li entered her room without knocking. She shot up from the bed, startled. Don't you know how to respect privacy? He ignored her protest, strolling casually into the room with the confidence of a king who needed no permission. His white shirt was unbuttoned at the top, exposing the sharp cut of his collarbones. Privacy? He chuckled, closing the door behind him. You're my wife, Veronica. There's no privacy between us. She clenched her fists. You think you can just walk in here and... Before she could finish, he leaned forward, pressing one hand against the wall beside her, caging her in. His face hovered inches from hers, his breath warm against her skin. Tell me, he whispered, his voice deep and husky. Do you hate me? Her lips parted, her chest heaving. Yes, she breathed. Good. His eyes darkened. Because hate is close to love. And I'll make sure you feel both. Her heart pounded violently. She pushed him away with all the strength she could muster, but his smile only grew wider, more dangerous. You're crazy, she spat. And you're mine. he replied simply, before turning and leaving the room as if he hadn't just shattered her composure. The next day, the Kong family gathered for breakfast. Veronica sat stiffly at the long dining table, her hands curled around her teacup. Madame Kong watched her with sharp eyes, while Kong Sr. focused on the morning paper. Kong Li sat across from her, calm and composed, a faint smirk tugging at his lips whenever his gaze met hers. "You've caused quite the stir, Veronica," Madame Kong finally said, her tone cool. "The world envies you now. You should be proud." Veronica set her cup down with a sharp clink. "I didn't ask for envy. I didn't ask for this marriage." The room grew still. Madame Kang's lips tightened. "Whether you asked or not, you are now part of this family. You will act like it. No scandals. No disobedience." "I'm not a puppet," Veronica shot back. Silence. Then Kong Li laughed softly, breaking the tension. "She is spirit, mother. Isn't that what you wanted?" Madame Kong gave him a sharp look, but he only smiled wider, clearly enjoying the clash. Veronica clenched her jaw. This family is insane. Outside the mansion, the whispers never ceased. Everywhere Veronica went, women glared at her with open envy. "That's the African girl who married Kong Li," they whispered. "She's so lucky. He's rich, powerful, dangerous. I would kill to be in her place." Lucky? Veronica thought bitterly. If only they knew the truth, the suffocating tension, the constant surveillance, the man who haunted her every step with a mix of obsession and dark affection. And yet, her heart betrayed her. Because every time Kong Li's hand brushed against hers, every time his gaze lingered too long, she felt heat coil in her stomach. She hated him, but she also felt something else. Something terrifying. It happened one evening when they were forced to attend a business banquet together. The sky cracked open as they left, rain pouring in heavy sheets. Veronica clutched her dress, running toward the car, but Kong Li pulled her back, spinning her into his arms. "What are you?" she began, but her words were cut off. He kissed her. Hard. The rain drenched them, his lips pressing against hers with a force that stole her breath. She pushed at his chest, but he only deepened the kiss, his hand cradling the back of her head, his body firm against hers. Her knees buckled. Her mind screamed at her to resist. But her heart, oh, her treacherous heart melted into the kiss, burning with a heat she could no longer deny. When he finally pulled back, his lips hovered against hers, his breath ragged. "See," he whispered, his voice hoarse. "You're already mine." And for the first time, Veronica couldn't find the words to deny it. The echo of the kiss lingered in Veronica's mind long after the banquet, long after the rain had dried on her skin. She sat by the window of her lavish bedroom in the Kong mansion, her knees drawn to her chest, staring out at the city lights of Seoul that flickered like restless stars. Her lips still tingled from his touch. She touched them absently, her brows furrowing. Why did I let it happen? The memory burned hot in her chest. The way his hand had cradled her head, the force of his mouth against hers, the rain falling around them like 1,000 tiny witnesses. She had hated him. She had wanted to push him away. And yet, in that moment, her body had betrayed her. She had kissed him back. The door creaked open. Veronica's heart jumped as she turned, only to find Kong Li leaning casually against the doorframe, his hair still slightly damp from the rain, his shirt unbuttoned just enough to tease the sharp cut of his collarbones. Her pulse quickened despite herself. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, hugging her knees tighter. He smirked, "Checking on my wife, making sure she hasn't run away yet." Her jaw clenched. "Don't flatter yourself. The only reason I haven't left is because your guards follow me everywhere like I'm some prisoner." "You are," he said smoothly, stepping into the room. Her breath caught. "Excuse me?" He came closer, slow, deliberate. "A prisoner of my name, my ring, my world. Whether you like it or not, Veronica, you're mine now." Her chest heaved as he stopped only a breath away, his gaze burning into hers. "You can't own me," she whispered, her voice shaking between defiance and fear. His lips brushed dangerously close to her ear. "Watch me." The next day, calmly took her into the heart of his empire. Not the glossy corporation office towers, but the darker underbelly, the world that no cameras dared to show. They arrived at a warehouse near the Han River, escorted by black cars and silent men in suits. Veronica's stomach twisted as she followed calmly, her heels clicking against the concrete floor. Inside, the air smelled of gun oil and steel. Men bowed as calmly passed, their eyes flicking to Veronica with curiosity and respect, and something else. "This is where the real business happens," calmly said casually, his hand brushing against the small of her back as if to steady her. "I wanted you to see it, to understand what it means to be my wife." Veronica swallowed hard.
Guns. Drugs. Blood.
"This is what you wanted me to understand." He stopped, turning to face her fully. His eyes were cold now, sharp as knives. "I wanted you to understand that being with me isn't safe. That the world will come for you, because you're mine. And when they do, Veronica, you'd better be ready." Her chest tightened. "I didn't choose this life. You chose me the moment you said I do." That night it began. As Veronica returned to her room, she found an envelope slipped under her door. Her hands trembled as she picked it up, the paper crisp and cold. She unfolded it, and her blood froze. Inside was a photo of her walking out of the banquet with Conley. Red ink circled her face, and below it, a single line was scrawled in Korean. "The bride dies first." Her breath hitched. The paper slipped from her fingers, landing on the floor like a curse. The door opened suddenly, and Conley walked in. His eyes flicked to the paper before she could hide it. He picked it up, his expression hardening as he read. "Who gave you this?" His voice was low, dangerous. I found it under the door," she stammered. His jaw tightened, veins visible against his temple. He crumpled the paper in his fist. "They're testing me," he muttered, more to himself than to her. Then his eyes met hers, blazing with fury. "No one touches you. No one." She swallowed. "But—" He cut her off, stepping forward, grabbing her wrist. His grip was firm but not painful, a strange mix of protectiveness and control. "You're mine, Veronica. And anyone who tries to harm what's mine dies." The following days were a blur of surveillance. Conley insisted she stay close, often dragging her along to meetings, events, and even private dinners. He was never far from her side, his hand often resting on her lower back or entwined with hers. And the world noticed. Everywhere they went, women stared, envy sharp in their eyes. Whispers followed Veronica like a haunting melody. "That's the African girl. She's his wife. She's not even Korean. How did she get him? She doesn't deserve him. He should be with someone like us." One evening, as they left a charity gala, a bold socialite approached Conley, brushing her hand along his arm. "Appa," she purred, her eyes glittering. "It's been too long.
You should call me sometime."
"I've missed you." Veronica stiffened, fury twisting in her gut. She looked away, pretending not to care. But Conley noticed. Without hesitation, he slipped his arm around Veronica's waist and pulled her close, his lips brushing her temple. "I don't need anyone else," he said firmly, his gaze fixed on the socialite. "I already have my wife." The woman's smile faltered, her face paling before she muttered an excuse and walked away. Veronica's heart pounded wildly. She looked up at him, shocked. "Why did you?" His lips curved into a smirk. "Because you're mine. And I don't share." Her cheeks burned. She wanted to slap him, scream at him, but instead, her traitorous heart fluttered. Later that night, Veronica stood on the balcony of their mansion suite, the city lights stretching endlessly before her. The cool breeze brushed against her skin, calming her racing thoughts. Conley joined her quietly, a glass of wine in his hand. He leaned against the railing, watching her. "You hate me less now," he said suddenly. She glanced at him sharply. "Don't assume you know what I feel." He smirked. "I don't have to assume. I see it in your eyes. You fight me, you curse me, but when I touch you, when I kiss you," he leaned closer, his lips brushing against her ear, "you melt." Her breath caught. She stepped back, her hands trembling. "That kiss meant nothing," she whispered, though her voice lacked conviction. "Then prove it," he challenged, his eyes burning into hers. "Kiss me again, and show me it means nothing." Her heart raced violently. "You're insane." "Maybe." He smirked. "But you'll still kiss me." And before she could argue, his lips captured hers again, this time slower, deeper, filled with a passion that stole her breath. She pushed at his chest, weakly at first, but then her hands curled into his shirt, holding him close instead of pushing him away. When he finally pulled back, his forehead rested against hers, his breathing heavy. "You're mine, Veronica," he whispered hoarsely. "And I'll never let you go." The Kong mansion was quieter than usual, but silence never meant peace. It was the silence before thunder, the silence before blood. Veronica felt it in her bones. The unease wouldn't leave her. Even as she walked down the golden corridors, draped in a silk gown Kong Li had bought her, her chest tightened with dread. And then it came. The explosion shattered the night. Glass rained down like stars as the mansion's east wing went up in flames. Veronica stumbled, gasping, her ears ringing from the blast. Guards shouted, running in all directions. "Stay down," one of them barked, pushing her toward the floor. But before panic could consume her, a strong arm wrapped around her waist, pulling her into the shadows.
Kong Li.
His face was grim, his jaw clenched, his eyes burning like fire. "They've come for you," he growled. The attackers moved like shadows, masked men with rifles storming the mansion grounds. Their target wasn't Kong Li. It was her. Bullets tore through the halls as Kong Li dragged her behind marble pillars, his body shielding hers without hesitation. "This is my fault," Veronica gasped, her hands trembling. "They're after me because of you." His eyes snapped to hers, sharp and furious.
"No," he spat.
"They're after you because they know you're the only thing that matters to me." Her breath caught, her heart racing despite the chaos around them. Before she could answer, more gunfire erupted. Kong Li pulled out his pistol, moving with deadly precision. Each shot he fired was cold, controlled, lethal. He was a man who had lived in shadows his entire life, and tonight, he unleashed all of it to keep her safe. They reached the underground safe room, but as the steel doors closed, betrayal struck. One of Kong Li's closest men turned his weapon, not at the enemies, but at Veronica. "Boss," the man said, his voice trembling but resolute. "Hand her over." The deal was clear. Her life for your empire. Veronica froze, her heart plummeting. But Kong Li only laughed.
"Low.
Dangerous. You think my empire means more to me than her?" His voice was ice. "You should know me better." The traitor hesitated for a split second, and in that instant, Kong Li fired. The man crumpled, lifeless, blood pooling at his feet. Veronica gasped, her body shaking. Kong Li turned to her, his expression softening for the first time that night. He cupped her face in his hands, his voice rough. "I will never let anyone touch you. Do you hear me? Never." Tears welled in her eyes.
"Why?"
"Why risk everything for me?" His lips brushed against hers, tender despite the chaos. "Because you're my everything now." They didn't know if they would survive the night. But in the dim safety of the bunker, their walls finally shattered. Kong Li pulled her close, his lips capturing hers with a hunger that left her breathless. His hands tangled in her braids, his body pressing against hers, as if he could fuse them together. She clung to him, her tears mixing with the kiss, her heart screaming the truth she had tried to deny for so long. "I hate you," she whispered against his lips. "I hate how much I love you." His breath hitched, his forehead resting against hers. "Say it again." "I love you," she admitted, her voice breaking. "Even though I swore I wouldn't. Even though I fought it. I love you, Kong Li." His arms tightened around her, possessive, desperate. "You're mine, Veronica. In this life, and the next. No grave, no enemy. Nothing will take you from me." By dawn, the attackers were dead. Kong Li's men had crushed the invasion with ruthless efficiency. News spread like wildfire again, this time not of ridicule, but of awe. The Kong heir lives. His African wife survives an assassination. Together, they stand untouchable. The same voices that once mocked her now spoke with envy and longing. She's so lucky. He protects her like she's a queen. Every woman wishes she was her. Veronica walked beside Kong Li as cameras flashed. Her hand was in his grip unyielding, his presence commanding. She wasn't the bride of the dead anymore. She was the wife of the living, the woman loved, envied, and feared. Weeks later, Veronica stood on the balcony of the Kong penthouse, her silk nightdress fluttering in the breeze. Kong Li came up behind her, wrapping his arms around her waist, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. "You're quiet," he murmured. She smiled faintly, just thinking about how crazy my life has become. A few weeks ago, they mocked me for marrying a dead man. Now they all wish they were me. He turned her to face him, his hand tilting her chin up. His gaze was soft but burning, a rare mix only he could carry. "They can wish all they want," he whispered, "but only you are mine." And then he kissed her again, slow, deep, endless, spoiling her as he always promised, loving her as only he could, till death and beyond.